Hello my loves. This is not normally the kind of video that I make, but just before going to bed last night I saw an article and I had some thoughts about it that I wanted to share. I would also be really interested to hear other people's opinions on this because at the time of me recording this, it's like literally the next morning after this article. So I haven't really seen anyone talking about it. There were no comments on any of the articles. There was no videos that I'd seen come up. I appreciate there probably will be quite a few in the next few days, but as of right now I've not seen any, so I would love to know your opinions on this. So the article that I saw was about the announcement that Audible made that they will, as of now, I think, be offering a fully AI narration service and in the future a fully AI translation service for audiobooks for selected publishers. So after reading the article, I went to Audible's website to see what they'd actually said, and I'm just gonna read it so that we can see this and like talk about it together. So this is from Audible's like press release part of their website, and it was posted yesterday on the 13th of May. Audible expands catalog with AI narration and translation for publishers. Audiobooks are the fastest growing platform in publishing, yet of the millions of books published today, only a fraction are available in audio. For decades, Audible has worked to expand the audiobook category, and every day we hear from creators looking to make new content available, as well as listeners looking for more stories in their local languages. Now, through select partnerships with publishers, we're bringing new audiobooks to life through our own fully integrated end-to-end AI production technology. Audible believes that AI represents a momentous opportunity to expand the availability of audiobooks with the vision of offering customers every book in every language, rather ambitious if you ask me, alongside our continued investments in premium original content, said Bob Carrigan, CEO of Audible. We'll be able to bring more stories to life, helping creators reach new audiences while ensuring listeners worldwide can access extraordinary books that might otherwise never reach their ears. Fully integrated AI narration solutions. Audible's integrated AI narration technology combines our nearly 30 years of experience producing exceptional audio stories with Amazon's advanced AI capabilities. In the coming months, interesting publishing partners will be able to choose one of two pathways to production: Audible managed end-to-end production. Through our end-to-end service, Audible handles the entire audiobook production process for selected titles, managing every step from initial text ingestion to published audiobook. Or self-service production. Publishers access the same underlying technology while directing their own production process, independently producing high-quality audiobooks. Across both pathways, publishers can choose from a quickly growing and improving selection of more than 100 AI-generated voices across English, Spanish, French, and Italian, with multiple accent and dialect options, and will be able to access voice upgrades for their titles as our technology evolves. Coming soon in beta, translation. As we expand our global audience for audiobooks, we'll also begin rolling out AI translation in beta later in 2025, allowing select publishers to bring their audiobooks to international audiences in their local languages. We're developing support for translations from English to Spanish, French, Italian, and German, which will begin to roll out throughout this year. Publishers can opt for human review from professional linguists to ensure translation accuracy and cultural nuance, and will be able to review the translations themselves in our text editor. Audible will offer two translation pathways: text-to-text translation for manuscripts, after which publishers can select either professional or AI narration, or speech-to-speech translation that preserves original narrator's voice and style across languages. Our audiobook experts will help guide publishers to identify ideal titles from their catalogs, creating new opportunities to connect stories with listeners worldwide. Looking ahead, as we evolve our AI narration and translation capabilities, Audible remains committed to working closely with authors, narrators, and publishers to ensure these technologies meet their creative and business needs while maintaining the quality standards our listeners expect. Our roadmap includes expanding our offering across more languages, accents, and unique character performances to serve increasingly diverse global audiences and unlock new creative possibilities. Publishers interested in learning more about AI narration and translation can reach out to their Audible representatives. We look forward to collaborating with our partners to expand customer selection thoughtfully, bringing stories to new audiences in their local languages and creating meaningful new opportunities for storytellers and listeners alike. Now look, AI has been becoming an increasingly hot topic amongst the book community recently, and for quite a while as well. From authors being fearful that their works might be scraped to train AI language models, to readers becoming increasingly concerned that authors are using AI more in their writing process, and artists being concerned about the number of AI-generated cover art that is being used in novels these days. It is a huge topic. It's talked about frequently. I see so many videos about it, and while I personally haven't had any glaringly obvious AI in any books that I have read recently, I can completely understand the concern about it, and and most people's opinion of AI in the publishing world in general is not really a positive one, which is what makes Audible's decision to do this quite well, it's not surprising because, you know, it's Amazon, what do you expect? But, you know, quite a concern, I suppose. Audible is one of the largest, if not, I think the largest audiobook distributor in the world. And so them making this public announcement, I think adds quite a new level to this discussion, because this isn't just authors deciding to do this themselves. This is a big company that has a lot of sway in the publishing industry, unfortunately, and therefore it's gonna have a big impact. There's of course a lot of discourse already about Amazon in general, who obviously own Audible, with a lot of users moving away from Kindle recently after they made the decision to remove the capability for people to download the books that they have purchased on there. And with all of that going on, I personally don't really think that this decision from Audible to start including AI in their options for distributing audiobooks is really going to help the public opinion. I would just like to caveat this by saying I'm not typically the kind of person who just blanket hates AI. And before you hate me for saying that, let me explain what I mean. I think AI is far too complex a technology to just be able to categorize it as either good or bad. We've been using AI for years in multiple different industries without really knowing or even really commenting on it because it wasn't as in the public attention as it is now. And with the increase of things like ChatGPT and easily accessible AI that can be incredibly damaging, I think it's now just moved to this thing of all AI is bad. Whereas my personal opinion is I think specific uses of AI are bad, not the technology itself. AI definitely does have the potential to be damaging, you could argue unethical in some places, if it's used incorrectly by humans. But I don't think that makes it inherently bad, because there are some cases in like the science world or medicine where it can be incredibly helpful. And the reason I'm saying that is almost to just add some weight to my thoughts, because I'm not the kind of person that just hates it without really reading into it or sort of looking more into it. I think AI has some positive uses. I just don't think this is one of them. With that being said, before I get into like more of my opinions on this, let's hear from some people who actually know what they're talking about with some quotes from some of the articles that I read. These first lot of quotes are from a Guardian article, which I will also list down below. I did accept full cookies just to be able to read this article, to be able to share it, so please appreciate me for doing that, because I wasn't going to pay money to not accept cookies. There's a few different quotes in here from various different people in sort of publishing industry. So the first one is from author Joanne Harris, and they say, "This short-sighted scheme reduces what we love about storytelling to the simple delivery of code. In an age of declining literacy, I can't think of anything more likely to put people off listening to audiobooks altogether." And then a narrator, Christian Atherton, says, "The art, and it is an art, of a good audiobook is the crack in the voice at the moment of unexpected emotion, the wryness of good comedy timing, or the disbelief a listener feels when one person can convincingly be a whole cast of characters. No matter how human an AI voice sounds, it's those little intricacies that can turn a good book into an excellent one, and AI can't replicate that." Stephen Briggs, another audiobook narrator, said, "The use of AI to replace human creativity is in itself a dangerous path. We need to create more, not less space for BIPOC narrators, and these AI tools are a way to marginalize and colonize voices we need to be heard." Then we have another quote from Nicholas Smalley, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, who is a translator for literature, and they said, "Time after time, generative AI has been shown to produce lowest common denominator results, while human translators, while fallible, use their personalities and the serendipity of the human mind to produce unique solutions to linguistic and literary problems, thereby creating art." And then we have another translator, Frank Wynn, who said, "No one pretends to use AI for translation, audiobooks, or even writing books because they're better. The only excuse is because they're cheaper, which is only true if you ignore the vast processing power even the simplest AI request requires. In the search for a cheap simulacra to an actual human, we are prepared to burn down the planet and call it progress." And then we have one opposing view in this article from Anne Gainley, who is the chief executive of the Society of Authors, and they said, "This announcement, the use of AI will expand the availability of audiobooks and help writers of all profiles reach new audiences. The technology offered must be transparent both to authors and consumers. Audible's AI tool and others like it must not be used as a backdoor to teach and refine existing AI tools. Authors must be included in the process and not get shut out by tech companies and publishers. They also must be able to choose whether their work is narrated by a human or synthetic voice, and this must be clearly labeled to consumers. So not necessarily opposing, more just like a cautionary, realistic mid sort of view, if you know what I mean. And then just as another opinion from an article by Kat Basu, I'm really sorry if I said that wrong, and I believe this is from the website Make Use Of. This is just the journalist's personal opinions in this article, but I thought some of it was interesting. So they basically said, I will link this article down below as well because I'm going to paraphrase some of this slightly, but they basically said including this will just mean more choice for audiobooks that you can listen to. If there's one you wanted to hear, you couldn't find it before, it might be available easier through the use of this sort of technology. And if you do listen in other languages, the translation tool that they're going to add might again prove more options for you. They do then go on to say hopefully it won't replace narrators for big releases, and they gave some examples of like Bryan Cranston narrating The Things They Carried or Morgan Freeman's voice in Ishmael as particularly good examples of narrators that we want to preserve and that sort of experience. And then said smaller books or ones where publishers can't justify the cost, AI might fill that gap to enable more availability for those kind of books. They also said in the article that for certain things like textbooks or non-fiction, the AI option might be not as bad because you don't care as much about the emotion, I suppose, in that if you're just reading it for information. And they went on to say a little bit later, I'm already talking to chatbots like ChatGPT while I need to absorb information while walking. They're not perfect, but they're getting better, and if it means I can listen to more books I care about only in passing, I'm open to it. For more serious titles, I will always prefer the timbre of a human voice. I'm leaning towards not loving this as an idea at all, actually. And while that last article there, the almost kind of centrist take they took of it's okay for some books but not other books, I think that in itself has problems, because I think if you're saying books that you only care about in passing don't deserve to have proper narrations made of them and it's fine for just AI to do it, who's judging whether that book is worth having a good experience or not? I feel like that's quite a subjective thing. I don't think that's really the best approach then to have if we're going to be judging books in that way, if it's only big bestsellers that get the full human narration experience and other books that maybe aren't going to do as well, or smaller books are more likely to be given AI. That is just the opinion of that person in the article. That's not what Audible said they're going to do. They haven't actually said who their selected publishers are that they're going to work with. However, just following on from that take, don't love that. As I said there, they haven't said who these selected publishers are. They haven't sort of really given much more information because obviously that only came out yesterday, this announcement. But I'm more so thinking as well about the long-term potential here for this to just be commonplace in audiobooks, and that's what I really dislike. As one of the quotes there said, the voice of a narrator really makes or breaks the audiobook experience, and there are so many opportunities for AI to get that wrong. We have admittedly come a long way with AI voice. I remember, I don't know if anyone else will have this similar shared experience, I have a distinct memory of like being at my aunt's when I was younger and discovering Microsoft Sam on my first ever laptop that I had, and we just spent like the whole night just making it say stupid things, and that was very entertaining to me as like a 8-year-old or something. If you never heard Microsoft Sam, I will put a little clip in now because there is a website that does it.
Please like and subscribe, smiley face.
But you know, that's back like 2006, 2007, I don't really remember when that was. Fast forward to now in 2025, and I'm having to frequently Google whether people like Donald Trump actually said something, because there's such convincing AI clones of his voice that it's impossible sometimes to tell if this is actually a clip of him saying something or if someone's just put it into an AI and made him say that, you know? It has improved. That in itself is a whole different concerning issue. but it has obviously improved in terms of how it can mimic human speech. But even the best created AI voices still do not have that same human quality, and they still mess up and do stupid things sometimes. And I just don't think that allows for good immersive storytelling. That is putting aside as well the concern about narrators themselves and their jobs being taken by AI. I appreciate, obviously, from what is being talked about here, it's more looking at books that maybe wouldn't have been able to go to audiobook before that. So you could argue, well, a narrator wasn't going to get that job anyway because they weren't going to make it into an audiobook. They couldn't afford to pay a narrator to do it. And that's what I mean with my concern about this being more commonplace, is that it could very easily go to this being used frequently at the expense of narrators' opportunities. And I'm also incredibly concerned, potentially more so, with the translation element of it. And that's not me saying that all of those other things I mentioned there aren't a concern. They are a concern. But the translation side of it, I'm sorry, I just don't believe that that's going to be done well. On the announcement on their website, it said that publishers will have the option to opt in to human review for the translation that the AI does for them. And now you would hope that if publishers decline that, that's because they have people in-house who can do that review for them. However, in this capitalist world that we live in, I do not trust that publishers will do that if they opt out of it. And I think that could just lead to a load of really poorly translated audiobooks being put out, which isn't fair for people who want to access those books in their language that they prefer to listen to. They should not have a subpar experience just because AI has decided to do that and it hasn't been checked properly. Translation in general, but especially in novels, has so much nuance and complexity to it that, in my opinion, requires human thought. There's frequently the debate amongst translators of whether to retain word-for-word accuracy of something in a translation, or alternatively to make more interpretive choices of the words to retain the voice of the story while making it more readable and relatable to the target language that it will be read in. And even then, there's nuances within those. If you don't read a lot of translated novels, or you haven't experienced the difficulties of translation before, if you want just a little snapshot into it, go on any Reddit post discussing which translation of any Dostoevsky book to read, and you will see so many differing opinions and questions and complexities about different translations of just those books. And obviously that's just scratching the surface of the issues. To give you a very, very simplified personal anecdote of this, when I was reading The Idiot by Dostoevsky, I had a digital version and a physical version because I was not lugging a 700-page book around with me to read like in my lunch break at work. I was reading on my phone, I highlighted something because it was funny, and I went home to transfer that highlight into my physical book, only to find that I had different translations of this book in those two different editions. And when I went to highlight it in my physical edition, it wasn't funny in that translation. That's a very simple example, but tone, context, everything can change so dramatically depending on the translation and the choices that the translation makes. I personally just don't think AI has the capability to be able to make those decisions or really think about that. And I know they said they're not going to be rolling it out till later in the year. Given how far we've already come with any kind of computer generated translation in the years we've been using it, I do not think in the next however many months before they release it, even in beta, I don't think that much is going to have changed to make it better or even on a level with human translation. And I do not trust publishers to check that the AI has actually done a decent job with that either. The other issue I have with it is their mention of speech-to-speech translation, and now this is more like hypothetical, potentially like, not conspiracy, but this is more just me thinking ahead to this and looking at the safeguards that would need to be in place to be able to use this, which again, Amazon as a company, I do not trust that they would do. Because my main question is like, what is going to happen with that person's voice after they've done the translation? Does that person then retain the rights of their voice? Amazon gonna keep their voice that's been generated for the translation so that they can use it in their technology or in other books? Are there going to be specific contracts for this? And also, is it going to prevent opportunities for narrators who don't want an AI cloning their voice? Like, there's just so many questions about that specifically without all of the issues of the translation probably being shit. Is this again just going to remove opportunities from narrators? And I think that just kind of summarizes there my main concerns, and what I think a lot of people's main concerns will be about this announcement is that not only does this potentially mean that a lot of the audiobooks that we read from this might be lower quality, poorer translations, but also it might mean that narrators and translators who put a lot of time, energy, and passion into this art might get less opportunities, or might have to turn down opportunities depending on how they handle the inclusion of AI. Any creative job or job in any creative field is already so difficult to get into and is becoming increasingly difficult to get into and make a living from. So anything like this that just potentially removes opportunities, just in my opinion, feels kind of scummy. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, following on from the recent backlash to the whole Kindle fiasco, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people stopped using Audible for this reason as well. But that is just my thoughts on it. I would love to know your thoughts and how you're feeling on this. I appreciate there's probably a lot more commentary on this since I filmed this, so share your opinions, your thoughts, whether you will continue to use Audible, whether you'll use their AI audiobooks or not. And yeah, that's all from me today. So I hope wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.